Good afternoon and aloha. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from livestream.travel and eTurboNews here in beautiful Honolulu. With me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow. He's joining us from College Station in Texas. I know we always discuss the weather, and I'm looking here to my left. I can see outside, and it is a little bit of a cloudy day, but it's nice. People at the beach. I see people surfing and on boats, and so it looks like it's a nice day outside. I've been working all day, so I really haven't been outside yet, but it looks like it's a nice day. How are things in Texas, Peter?
Well, you wouldn't want to be outside in Texas today because it must be about, on the Fahrenheit scale, about 104, 105, on the Celsius scale, about 41, 42 degrees, and humid. So it's kind of like being in a boiling bottle of oil of Olay. I guess it'll keep your wrinkles down, if nothing else. But I've been walking around 5 in the morning, and today I decided to take a small little walk around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I lasted for about 10 minutes. I said, it's just too hot. So I turned around and came in. So this is typical Texas in the summer, very hot, very humid. And the good news is that we're only 6 weeks away from September. When it starts cooling down.
Soon we have more choices to travel to. There are two more that came on our agenda. One is a place that's probably going to be even hotter than Texas. It's Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is now issuing tourist visas for anyone from 40 some countries, including US citizens who wanted to visit, as long as you have a vaccine certificate. And you can travel now to Saudi Arabia as of August 1st, what is Sunday. And I'm sure that's going to be a hot place. Another place, if you don't want to have it all that hot, you can go to the UK starting on Monday.
Yes.
And what we have actually on Monday, we will have an event on this very same channel. And you can, anyone who's watching us can be part of it. And it's a discussion with the VP for Visit Britain for North America and South America, for the Americas. And we also have our friend Tom Jenkins. For those that have been watching us for a while, Tom is the CEO of the European Tourism Association. He's based in London, has an intimate knowledge about travel and tourism in Europe. He's going to give us some updates, what happened to countries that are opened already for tourism, for American tourism. He will answer a few questions about why the French are not permitted to come to Britain, because Britain opened up to all the EU countries except to neighboring France. And I think
that's very interesting. I wonder if, because the French and the British have had a rocky relationship over the last 600 years. So America, they haven't done very well since the Battle of Hastings, and that was in 1032. So I think my history is correct on that. So maybe it's just continuity of the fact that they have not always done very well together. They don't play well in the same sandbox.
And one of the questions, of course, can you take the Euro train to get to London, because it goes through France? It's only
is it coming from France that's not permitted, or coming with a French passport that's not permitted?
That's probably what it is with the French passport, because if you take the train, for example, I've taken the train from London to Cologne, and when you get to the European continent, you're in France. There's only one little station in France, and when you actually check in London, when you check in and you pass the European border control already in London, so they have officers there, they're French officers. So you have to go through French.
And have to go through French. But I would think that you could be possibly traveling with in other words, you don't stop in France, and maybe if you have a passport that's not French, the British will accept that. Now I'm making this up. I don't know.
But then again, it goes, it's the COVID really doesn't look at your passport.
No, but I don't think a lot of this is based on logic. A lot of this is based on emotions. I think what's really interesting, though, is that England is opening up. Certainly from the United States perspective, that's good news for Americans who want to travel to Britain. The real question is, right now, they opened up and they've had a major dip in the number of COVID cases. People are not sure if that's because of vaccination, the fact that schools are closed. No one quite knows the real reason. Should those cases go back up again, will the British then close down again? And that's something we don't know.
Yeah, and this will be asked on Monday. So if you wanted to attend, it's going to happen at 8 o'clock in the morning Hawaii time, what is 2 in the afternoon on the East Coast and 7 in the evening in London, or 8 in France, or other parts of Central Europe.
So it's,
Simply go
most
to,
people in the world can attend. It's not an inconvenient hour. It's, you can have your dinner in Europe and still see the program. You could have your lunch in Texas and still see the program, or you can have your breakfast in Hawaii and still see the program. So you can, it will not stop your eating wherever you are.
yeah, it's an ideal time unless you're in Malaysia or someplace. That would make it 2 in the morning. But
Yeah.
anyways, just go to worldtourismevents.com. It's the only event right now upcoming, worldtourismevents.com, and you can register and be part of this live audience. So we're all excited to talk about Britain. It's one of my favorite places. Actually, London is one of my favorite cities to go to. So I would love to get on the plane right away and go. You like London, Peter?
I like London a lot. The only thing I don't like about Britain is that they drive on the wrong side of the street. And I'm afraid to go around the traffic circle while driving. So, I have a lot of British friends who are in the police department, and I always tell them the reason they have a high accident rate in England is because they all drive backwards, which at least I think is funny, if nothing else. But Britain is a very beautiful country. Uh, the British countryside is really lovely, and of course, though it is a capital for rock and roll and for music, and for it's the land of the Beatles and one major music group after another. So the British have given everything from Shakespeare to the Beatles in the world of culture.
Yeah, they certainly confused the U.S. Virgin Islands. I can tell you this. I remember when I went to the U.S. Virgin Islands, what is a lovely place to visit. They are driving on the wrong side of the road, but
Yes.
they have American cars, and it's a U.S. territory. So I remember the first thing I did when I got to the airport and rented a car, I was on the wrong side of the street and almost I
Yeah.
couldn't get
So
out of
I've been in the Virgin Islands. It's very funny because they drive the cars as if they were right-hand drive, but all the cars are left-hand drive.
Right.
So you can't see when you're going around the corner. And everybody does it that way. And it's a very strange methodology. I think the Virgin Islands is very prayerful, because every time you get into a car, you really want to pray, to say the least. But you just pray that you'll get to your destination without a major crash.
Yeah, it's definitely a different place. But
Yes, it is. But lots of other stuff has been also going on. I think we wanted to talk a little bit about so many tourists are being evacuated in Turkey because of major forest fires. And of course, in the Pacific, which is always an unstable place as far as the Earth's plates and the the geology under the Pacific Ocean. There was an earthquake yesterday, I guess it was last night, that set off a small tsunami across the Pacific. Luckily, not much happened as far as anybody being hurt, but it started in Alaska and it worked its way all the way down, I guess, to Australia.
yeah, and actually this tsunami was Pacific-wide, what is unusual, and it followed an 8.2 earthquake. Well, I think it's the strongest earthquake measured in don't know how many years. And luckily, it didn't. No one really died, and no one got hurt. It was in the Alaska Straits, or in the middle of the ocean.
Which is a good place. It's really not even an earthquake; it's a seaquake, to be
Right.
technical.
Yes.
But of course, seaquakes are really somewhat scary. I'm not so worried about a seaquake in the Pacific, unless there were a major tsunami. Where I do worry about seaquakes is in the Caribbean. And as you might know, one of the world's major fault lines goes right through Jamaica and through many of the Caribbean islands. And God forbid, not only would you have the problem of a major tsunami in the Caribbean, but almost all the Caribbean countries have their airports right next to the water. And many of them are dependent on desalination plants. And so were there to be a major seaquake with a tsunami, that could knock out airports and it could knock out water supplies across the Caribbean, and that would be really a dangerous situation. So in the Pacific, we could kind of smile and say, thank God nobody got hurt. God knows what it would be like if this happened on the Atlantic side, with the fault lines that going, I think it goes from Bermuda right through Jamaica. So it's would be a pretty dangerous fault line if the plate started to move.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And talking about natural disasters, yesterday, raging Turkey wildfires triggered tourism evacuations in Bodrum and Marmarus, what are two major tourism sites in Turkey. And so far, it doesn't look, it ended up being all that devastating, but from the latest news I can see, about 3 people died in these fires, and they're still ongoing.
Yeah. Anytime you have, well, all forest fires are terrible. Certainly California is having its share, as is the western part of the United States. And part of these fires, most people think that a lot of these fires happen because of arson or somebody was careless, but very often they're natural phenomena. Especially when you have, at this time of year, what are called dry thunderstorms. And that's when you have lightning striking very brittle brush or a tree that's dying, and it's lightning without rain. And so zap up quickly, you end up with a whole forest going on fire. And there's no way to stop that, because those are just acts of God that it's actually good for the forest, but it's bad for everybody else. It does help the trees to renew themselves and the forest to renew itself. And so it's kind of nature's way of protecting. But on the other hand, if you're too close to a forest fire, that's not a good situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we have the same situation or similar situations in California. I'm working on a story as we speak. We haven't published it yet, about Lake Powell in Arizona, Utah, what is usually getting about 2 million tourists every year. And the water level is down so much that actually these houseboats, and the tourism industry lives on houseboat rental, can no longer operate. So that, and with the fires and everything together, and Corona is a big threat to the usually very vibrant tourism industry in that area. Page has a population of 7,500 people, and almost everyone is somehow related to the tourism industry, whether they work in restaurants and hotels or they rent houseboats.
And of course, the same thing is taking place in Las Vegas, with the problem of Lake Mead being at the lowest it's ever been. They were supposed to have a little bit of rain this week, but it was unclear if it would be rain, it would be lightning with water, or dry lightning. And if the dry lightning, that's about the worst scenario that the West could have, because that means you have high winds, you have no rain, and you have forest fires on top of it. So I haven't seen the weather forecast for a day or two, but I know that eventually Las Vegas is going to have to begin to really have some cutbacks. They have all these beautiful golf courses that just eat water. And it's really questionable, can Las Vegas afford fountains and lush gardens and golf courses when they don't have the water to support it? Or do they have to come up with some form of desert planning and desert landscaping?
Yeah, and I think we had the highest temperature in Death Valley in California.
Yes, it's been a warm year. Here in Texas, it's our normal. Just, 100 degrees is not a big deal in Texas in the summer. Actually, this has been a fairly cool summer. About 10 years ago, we had 40 days where it never went below 100, even at night. So that was a really, that was a tough summer. But this summer started out actually quite cool and rainy. We're still getting a lot of rain, and that's good. So our yellow lawns have turned green. But still other things that are going on around the world. Of course, the Olympics are still going on, and we don't want to forget about that. It's a very interesting Olympics. Again, I feel bad for Japan, but even in the United States, I think they've been so politicized that people are kind of tuning out. This is the lowest viewership ever, and lower even than 1966. And there were a lot less people in 1966. And at this point, many of the sponsors are beginning to panic and are even talking about pulling out of the television productions. So this is a really interesting phenomena. I don't know if it's just this one particular Olympics. We'll see in 8 months' time, there'll be the Olympics in China for the Winter Olympics. And I'm a little worried there may be Olympic fatigue, coming so close together. And then it'll be interesting to see if this trend of, there's kind of a trend away from watching sports to begin with. And what does that mean for tourism? And if, a lot of these communities depend on, in the United States, if it's a Super Bowl or a all-star game or around the world, Olympics, how will this change things? And if people become less interested, are more interested just in their own physical activities and not in watching other people do physical activities, will that have an impact on tourism?
And of course, sports is tourism. Sport is the leisure activities where people come together. Many times people travel to see a sports event, like the Olympics is a classical example. And this is the major part of the Olympics got cut out because there's no travel. So just the sports part, and if you sports, you can, you can watch sports on television. That doesn't mean you're part of this game, really, in a way. So,
and that's one of the things that we're starting to wonder about. Is up till now, tourism has been pretty much dependent on spectator sports, people coming to watch other people do things. But now we're starting to see a trend where people are saying they're not so interested in spectator sports. They're interested in doing things themselves. I don't want to watch you play baseball. I want to play baseball. I don't want to watch you play football. I want to go out and throw the ball. I want to do things that are physical. And if that's true, the tourism industry is going to have to adjust and create many new recreational opportunities rather than spectator opportunities. Now, there'll always be people who want to see spectator stuff. So I understand that. But this could be the beginning of a trend. We're going to see a realignment in the way people expend energy and therefore spend money.
Yep. and it's a different world. I mean, we published a story earlier about trains in Thailand. There are trains now designed for COVID patients that don't have any major symptoms, but if they travel in a car with no air condition, no toilets, and kind of cut off from everything else. So people are getting creative, I think, these days, and go on different.
So how does that mean? If you don't have COVID, you also don't get a toilet?
I guess that's what it means. I don't know. I mean, I hope it's not a long train ride.
So if you want to have a toilet, you need to have COVID.
Yeah, it's meant for people in Thailand that go to what they call an isolation center. So they board this train in Bangkok and then they go to this isolation center. One is in Bang Su Grand Station. And so I guess maybe it's not too far. But it's a different travel experience altogether, I would think.
It's called torture.
And they expect a lot of traffic because they have 15 cars on that train. So that is quite big.
It sounds like the most torture we've seen in train travel since the Germans had the cattle cars in World War II. Only this time you're paying for it. The Nazis aren't throwing you on the car. But I hope they let people sit down. So there's probably no food, no toilets, and no air conditioning.
Actually, they have, for people who don't feel very well, they have some place to lay down on these trains too. So there's some.
Oh, so you can lay down before. I don't know if I would really be wanting to take this train. No offense, but I can't see spending money to suffer.
No, I think
unless we see this as a new trend in tourism and suffering tourism. So rather than just suffering by getting on a plane, which is suffering today, or suffering by going through all the COVID restrictions, we're going to give you ultimate suffering. So when you get on a plane, it'll seem easy.
Yes. Well, I mean, on a serious note, Indonesia, for example, I just talked to a friend in Indonesia, and people are now turned away from hospitals that are really sick with COVID and need help. the situation is dire again in Indonesia. So unfortunately, we're not over this, and we're so lucky in the United States that we have plenty of vaccine. We have vaccine for everyone, and then 30% of our people don't want to take it. And now the government is paying money to those, so they take it anyway. It's a disgrace in my end, and there's so many people in the world that probably would give their left leg, I'm sorry, to get this vaccine.
Yeah, it is a problem. A lot of people in a lot of the Western countries have questions about the vaccine. And I encourage people to take it, but I also respect the fact that if we do control our own bodies, and no government should force you to take it. So I would encourage people to take it. I think it's good, actually, that the government is paying people to take it, because though I don't really think the $100 will matter much one way or the other. I think someone who's afraid of the vaccine is not going to be seduced by $100, and somebody who is not afraid of the vaccine would take it anyway. So, and $100 isn't going to buy a lot in a world of hyperinflation. I was in the supermarket today. I was just flabbergasted at how much prices have gone up in the last 6 months. And so, but it's always nice if somebody handed me $100, I wouldn't be mad at them.
Well, you already got your vaccine. You're too late.
I did. I was one of the
early. Let's put it this way.
I was one of the very first to get the vaccine. I finished my second shot in February. So of course, the big issue that we don't know is will we need a third shot? And nobody knows that or not. The Israelis are now experimenting with that, and that will be interesting to see. I think starting next week, people over 60 or 65 will be eligible to take a booster shot if they've had Pfizer. So we'll see how that data plays out or not. And their data does seem to indicate that it does no harm to children, but children probably only need one shot. They don't need two shots. So this is, again, all new. We're learning as we go along.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Peter, it was nice talking to you again today on this news broadcast. And I wanted to just remind one more time, register for our UK event on Monday. It'll be very, very interesting. Just go to worldtourismevents.com and you can find it listed.
Maybe we have some nice pictures of British soldiers in their red coats marching in front of the Buckingham Palace, or somebody having a fly land on the nose of a bobby, and he doesn't smile. So people always enjoy seeing the changing of the guard and seeing some of the pomp and circumstances, which is, of course, the whole royal family is a soap opera meant for tourists and visitation. So we have to thank the British for creating one of the world's great tourist events.
Yes, and of course, Britain without the royal family would be boring. So
yeah, and well, yes, and it's an ongoing soap opera. Okay, have a good evening from Texas. Good afternoon to Hawaii, and go out and enjoy your beach.
I will, Peter. And for those that are tuned in now, please stay on. We're going to give you a summary of today's news you can listen to. And we'll talk to Peter again very soon, latest on Monday at the British event.
All right. Take care and aloha. And it's almost Shabbat Shalom. So as we like to say, Shaloha.
All right, Peter. Take care. Bye-bye.
The best software and online tools for travel and tourism companies in 2021. Rigindo says it created the best online booking system and provided an introduction to the Rigindo booking systems for tours and activities. We asked a group of tour operators about the online tools they can't live without. Rigindo is sharing their findings to help businesses work more efficiently and be better connected. Booking systems offer a software solution that allows potential clients to make an online booking through your website and other channels. But which are the best ones on the market? Here is the Rigindo presentation. Rigindo. We might be a little bit biased, but we love our products and work hard to ensure we can deliver the best booking solution on the market. We started the Rigindo journey in 2011 in Munich, Germany, and have worked with over 8,000 fantastic tour and activity providers around the world since then. Your customers and staff will love Rigindo's design. It's easy to navigate, so you can jump right in without any training. No matter if you sell 50 or 500,000 tickets a year, Rigindo is built to make your life easier. Our expertise and advanced features are perfect for handling big volumes. The Rigindo software keeps track of all your bookings. Offline, online, and partner sales are easily recorded, stored, and analyzed. Why choose Rigindo? All bookings in one system, helping you to increase sales, save RESOURCES, manage operations, live real-time inventory management, reliable and centralized resource management. We help you grow fast without investment costs. We are the best platform for high volumes of bookings. We have an intuitive user interface. We give you full control over the look and feel of your online ticket store. Onboarding and support team that's always ready to help. Our software is optimized for conversions. Connect to the biggest OTAs in one click. Want to see Rigindo in action? Fill out our form to request your free demo and product tour. FareHarbor creates powerful tools that help tour and activity operators run their business with ease and efficiency. They offer online booking software and resources for tour and activity companies. With a team of adventure-loving, multilingual members from all over the globe, FareHarbor promises to help you grow. Why choose FareHarbor? Enterprise-level, user-friendly optimized back-end software. 24/7 support plus one-on-one personal training. We'll transfer your future bookings and update your website. Expand your reach with established distribution channels. We're the fastest-growing company in the activity and tourism industry. To get a live demo and see how FareHarbor can work for you, simply fill out the form on their website. Booking is a TripAdvisor company offering online booking engine, channel management, inventory and resource management, B2B marketplace, reporting, and websites for tour and activity businesses. Why choose Booking? We help you start and grow your tours and activities business. Get more bookings, sell on as many channels as you want, reaching customers globally. Save time, increase your efficiency, and manage your business operations all in one place. Grow your business, explore opportunities for you to grow your distribution, increase your productivity, and build new revenue streams for your business. If you want to start using Booking, you simply need to sign up for their free trial. Checkfront is a cloud-based business management software designed for tour operators, rental companies, and accommodation providers. Why choose Checkfront? Never miss another booking. Take bookings on your website anytime, anywhere with responsive live calendar availability. Say goodbye to spreadsheets, keep track of your bookings, manage reservations and availability, and get real-time insight into your business all through a centralized dashboard. Cut your workload in half, automate your repetitive tasks. Checkfront offers 21 days free trial, so if you are interested to get access to their features and support, just create an account. No credit card is required. Redzi is an independent booking software and distribution platform designed for tour and activity operators. Why choose Redzi? Automate business operations. Mobile and multi-screen control. One-click website creation. Advanced business reporting. Guest manifest creation. Multiple integrations, Zapier, TripAdvisor Review Express, Facebook SHOP and more. Real-time rates and price management. To start your transformation with Redzi, you can register for their free trial. No credit card is required. Trexaft is a leading booking solution for day tour companies. Why choose Trexaft? Sell more tours by connecting your front-end and back-end sales. Manage operations by automating administration and manual tasks. Grow your business by connecting with customers around the world. To request a demo with their business development team, you just need to schedule a demo call. Content management systems. CMS tools offer an affordable and secure solution for owners who want to gain control over their website and manage all content in-house. Let's find out which are the top 3 CMS choices of tour operators. WordPress. WordPress is the world's most popular free and open-source content management system. It is user-friendly, entirely customizable, and very easy to learn. With WordPress, you can build a website, start a blog, and even sell online. Why choose WordPress? WordPress is free, you just need to pay for hosting. Hungarian government attacks on air traffic workers condemned. Air traffic workers at Hungarian air navigation service provider, ANSP, Hungarocontrol are now forbidden to organize any strike. European Transport Workers Federation appeals to the European Commission. 2 illegal decrees issued by the Orban government. ETF strongly condemns interference from the Hungarian government into the provision of air navigation services. The European Transport Workers FEDERATIO and ETF sent a letter to the European COMMISSIO and EC President Ursula von der Leyen, to the EU Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, Nicholas Schmid, and to the EU Commissioner for Transport, Adina Valian, asking for immediate action from the EC to stop what seems to be another case of breaching the rule of law by the Hungarian government and also a clear situation of union busting within this EU member state. Hungarian government attacks on air traffic workers condemned. Addressing the EC leaders, the ETF expresses its deep concerns regarding the difficult situation of the air traffic workers at Hungarian Air Navigation Service PROVIDR, ANSP, Hungarocontrol, which are now forbidden to organize any strike on the basis of 2 illegal decrees issued by the Orban government. This is clear intimidation against the air traffic controllers from Hungary, ETF mentions in the letter addressed to the EU commissioners. The decree not only dismisses the decision 2.mpkf.35.080/2021-5 of the Hungarian Appeal Court, but also violates Article 28 of the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. ETF strongly condemns such interference from the Hungarian government into the provision of air navigation services and the creation of a hostile work environment that increases stress levels amongst air traffic workers and also poses a serious safety risk to passengers, workers, and citizens. Raging Turkey wildfires trigger tourist evacuation in Bodrum and Marmarus. Massive Turkey fires endanger visitors in resort areas. Evacuation ordered in Turkish resort cities of Bodrum and Marmarus. The wildfires burn very close to houses and hotels. Turkish Navy are taking part in fighting the wildfires. Turkey wildfires hit the resort towns of Marmarus and Bodrum. Local authorities ordered evacuation of tourists and local residents. Raging Turkey wildfires trigger tourist evacuation in Bodrum and Marmarus. Because of the powerful fires, people were first evacuated in Marmarus. The forest burns very close to houses and hotels. Turkish Minister of Agriculture and Forestry Bekir Pakdemirli said that 5 helicopters, 1 plane and 30 fire engines are fighting disastrous fires in the area. The newest fire has flared up in resort town of Bodrum. People are being evacuated. Units of the Turkish Navy are involved in desperate attempts to sustain the fires. Current wildfires, the strongest ones in recent years, began due to the heatwave in the region. To date, 3 people have died in the disaster and 183 have suffered from smoke. Earlier, Turkish Tourism Minister Mehmet Nuri Ersoy said that fires were retreating from hotels and houses. The minister said since the intervention was carried out on time and with the use of a large amount of equipment, the spread of fire towards the coast was prevented. Later, roads to tourist areas were closed. Tourism Seychelles kicks off annual mid-year marketing consultations. Tourism Seychelles launched its 2021 annual mid-year review and marketing consultations with local tourism partners on Tuesday, July 27, to review the performance of the destination to date and discuss and adjust plans for the second part of the year. The consultations kicked off with a brief address by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Tourism, Ambassador Sylvester Radigund. The Principal Secretary for Tourism, Mrs. Sharon Francis, gave a presentation of the department's strategy. The tourism department is working closely with the tourism stakeholders and government organizations to review products offered in Seychelles and provide better services to its visitors. Seychelles recently recorded its highest weekly visitor arrivals since the onset of the pandemic in March 2021, with 5,367 visitors in week 29 of 2021, or just 22% below that of the same week in 2019, industry stakeholders learned. Held over the virtual platform Zoom, the consultations, which will run over the next 2 weeks, kicked off with a brief address by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Tourism, Ambassador Sylvester Radegund, to industry stakeholders in Seychelles and the tourism department's staff across the world. This was followed by a presentation of the department's strategy by the Principal Secretary for TOURISM, PS, Mrs. Sharon Francis. Addressing the industry partners, Minister Radegund highlighted that aside from the ongoing pandemic, which is slowing down travel around the world, the local tourism industry is facing many challenges, hindering the growth of the industry. The minister gave his reassurance that the tourism department is working closely with the tourism stakeholders and various government organizations to review the products offered in Seychelles and provide better services to its visitors. Minister Radegund commented that he is greatly encouraged by the steady growth in visitor arrival numbers and the balanced distribution of the visitors across sizes of establishments and the various islands. In her presentation, PS Francis provided a global overview of the current state of the local tourism industry, commenting on the impact of the global uncertainties on Seychelles' economy as well as providing an outline of the forecast against the current arrivals numbers and forward bookings held, which show expected growth over the next 2 quarters. Summarizing the arrival numbers from January 12, 2021 to date, she shared that the destination has recorded 62,238 visitors, with almost 95%, or 59,218 visitors, arriving after March 25, following the final phase of the border reopening. Mrs. Francis also revealed that Seychelles had recently achieved a high point in weekly visitor arrivals since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, welcoming in week 29 of 2021 a total of 5,367 visitors, which is just 88% of the 6,844 visitors recorded during week 29 of 2019, pre-pandemic. Going forward, PS Francis affirmed the tourism department's commitment to the strategy presented earlier this year by the destination's previous and now dissolved marketing body, the Seychelles Tourism Board. Reassuring stakeholders of the tourism department's reliance on data-driven strategies, PS Francis said that they will keep refining their digital marketing tactics, using newly identified trends to target potential visitors. A major part of the strategy for the coming months will be focused on the delivery of more impactful and targeted campaigns, she affirmed. The agenda over the coming days will feature one-on-one consultations hosted by Tourism Seychelles team overseas with local industry partners to discuss the current and forecasted situations in each market. The mid-year marketing review and consultations will conclude on August 6, 2021. German Condor airline modernizes fleet with 16 new Airbus A330neo jets. The decision by Condor to modernize its long-haul fleet with A330neos will set a new benchmark on the airline's trajectory towards more sustainable flying. German airline Condor Flugdienst GmbH renews its long-haul fleet. Condor will purchase of 7 Airbus A330neo aircraft. Condor will lease 9 more Airbus A330neo aircraft. German airline Condor Flugdienst GmbH has chosen the Airbus A330neo to renew its long-haul fleet with plans to introduce 16 aircraft of this new and more efficient type. The airline has signed an agreement with Airbus for the purchase of 7 Airbus A330neo and intends to lease a further 9. Condor is the latest airline to order Airbus's state-of-the-art A330neo wide-body aircraft, bringing a step change in performance and economics. The airline will operate the A330neo on its international long-haul network to the Americas, Africa, the Caribbean and Asia. Condor excels in operating profitably many routes no other carrier is able to. We are proud to see a demanding airline such as Condor selecting our latest technology A330neo as the aircraft of choice, building the future of their wide-body fleet in the relentless pursuit of lowest operating costs and passenger comfort, said Christian Scherer, Airbus Chief Commercial Officer and Head of International. By operating the A320 and A330neo aircraft side by side, the airline will benefit from all the commonality economics these two premium products offer, with the embedded flexibility to address new and existing markets with the right-sized, right-efficiency aircraft. Christian Scherer added the A330neo has won a thorough competition yet again, as it has in the vast majority of competitive evaluations these last 3 years. The decision by Condor to modernize its long-haul fleet with A330neos will also set a new benchmark on the airline's trajectory towards more sustainable flying. We thank and applaud Condor for confirming the competitive value of the A330neo. Condor CEO Ralph de Kentrop said, "We are proud to be the German launch customer for the A330neo. Thanks to the latest technology and maximum efficiency of the aircraft, we will be taking off with our new plane from autumn 2022 with fuel consumption of just 2.1 liters per passenger per 100 kilometers. With this value, we are the front runner in Germany, and, as the most popular leisure airline, we will consistently continue to interweave the themes of sustainability and holidays." Ralph de Kentrop added, "On board, our customers can expect the highest levels of comfort in a brand new business class, premium economy class and economy class. We are looking forward to our new aircraft and to the successful cooperation with Airbus as a strong partner by our side." The Airbus A330neo is a true next-generation aircraft, incorporating the latest A350 technologies with A330 profitability and Airbus commonality. Equipped with the stunning airspace cabin, the A330neo offers a unique passenger experience, brimming with the latest in-flight entertainment systems and connectivity. The A330neo is powered by Rolls-Royce Trent 7000 engines and features a new wing with increased span and A350-inspired winglets. The aircraft also provides an unprecedented level of efficiency, with 25% lower fuel burn and CO2 emissions per seat than previous generation competitors. Thanks to its tailored, mid-sized capacity and excellent range versatility, the A330neo is considered the ideal aircraft to support operators in their post-COVID-19 recovery. Guam provides free Guam trolley service in Tumen. In an effort to continue the revitalization of Guam's #1 industry, the Guam Visitors Bureau, GVB, is providing free trolley service for island residents and visitors in Tumen from July 30 to August 30, 2021. Guam Visitors Bureau is welcoming visitors back and overcoming the pandemic. Free trolley service is being provided in partnership with Lam Lam Tours. The trolley will help visitors as well as locals and military to get around the island and support local business. "We want to instill confidence for businesses to reopen as we begin to welcome back visitors and overcome this pandemic," said GVBP RESIDT and TN CEO Carl T.C. Gutierrez. Partnering with Lam Lam Tours to provide this transportation free of charge will provide an opportunity for our locals, military, and visitors to get around the island and support our local business community. The Guam Trolley SERVICE GTS in Guam is offered daily from 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. between GPO and Micronesia Mall with multiple stops within Tumen. GTS ROUTES and schedule. Number rebuild interval. Human trafficking is a global crime. The World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, has launched a major new report which signals how the global travel and tourism sector can help eradicate human trafficking. The report is released with support from the Carlson Family Foundation and builds on WTTC's Human Trafficking Task Force, which was launched in 2019 at its global summit in Seville, Spain. With its report Preventing Human Trafficking, an action framework for the travel and tourism sector, WTTC aims to strengthen cooperation across stakeholders and share best practices to raise awareness about how the sector can, and does, make a difference to proactively address this global crime. The report details an action framework to tackle human trafficking around 4 main pillars: awareness, education, and training, advocacy, and support. The International Labour Organization ILO has estimated that on any given day in 2016, More than 40 million people around the world were victims of human trafficking. The pandemic has not only put a spotlight on pre-existing inequalities but exacerbated them. This has accelerated the urgent need for targeted actions within the travel and tourism sector. The report offers solutions both within the sector and beyond, as the complexity of these transnational crimes requires multidisciplinary efforts and concerted coordinated action by stakeholders such as states, private companies, and international organizations around the world. For the travel and tourism sector, this means involving the expertise of all stakeholders, including survivors, as well as civil society organizations to establish joint initiatives. Virginia Messina, Senior Vice President and Acting CEO, WTTC, said human trafficking is a global crime which preys on the vulnerable, continues to grow, and affect the lives of millions around the world. This vital report offers a framework for the travel and tourism sector to play its part to help combat human trafficking. Given the sector's inadvertent position in the path of human traffickers, we need to shoulder our responsibility to ensure that the travel and tourism sector offers a safe and welcoming environment for those who work within it. Ultimately, travel is something that brings people together, and it is critical that we proactively help address this crime. The sector needs a cohesive approach and focus its efforts on driving forward advocacy related to human trafficking by engaging all key stakeholders. We hope that this report can aid in that task. This in-depth report highlights the need to work on facilitating an approach which will enhance the understanding of the crime of human trafficking, enable better identification, prevention, and mitigation of potential and actual impacts of the sector, and further public-private collaboration to ensure that appropriate steps are taken by governments when human trafficking is detected. The report is launched in advance of World Day Against Trafficking in PERSONS, 30 July, which highlights the importance of listening to and learning from survivors of human trafficking. Yahoo.b. WTTC would also like to thank the following organizations for contributing to this important report: Carlson, CWT, MXGBT, Marriott International, Hilton, Engel, JTB Corporation, Ecbit International, Airbnb, Aid Travel, Bysayer Village Shopping Collection, Emirates, Expedia Group, ITF, It's a Penalty, Murano Perspectives. The World Tourism Network is applauding the effort by WTTC to address this important and dark subject. Travel to Saudi Arabia for tourism if you're vaccinated. Saudi Arabia eases border restrictions following the COVID-19 global lockdown. Citizens from 49 countries are eligible for a tourism e-visa. The World Tourism Network congratulates the kingdom to open their gates to the world of international tourism. Saudi Arabia is currently investing billions in the travel and tourism industry, not only for Saudi Arabia, but in becoming a global center for the world of tourism leaders to come together and set trends. As of August 1, this investment will restart to generate revenue again for the kingdom when citizens from 49 countries are invited to visit a new world. In a recent discussion organized by this publication and the Saudi Arabia chapter of the World Tourism Network, it was pointed out Saudi Arabia has big plans and accounts already for enormous achievements to not only put the kingdom in the world center of tourism, but to create a true gathering place for those leading world tourism. His Royal Highness Drive Abdulaziz bin Nasser Al Saud, chairman of the WTN Saudi Arabia chapter, pointed out that Saudi Arabia hosts major travel and tourism organizations and initiatives, including the World Tourism ORGANIZATIO and UNTO, World Travel and Tourism COUNCIL, WTTC, and the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management CENTER, GTRCMC. The conditions: visitors wanting to travel to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia need to be fully vaccinated. Tourism visa holders who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 will be able to enter the country from 1 August 2021 without the need to quarantine. Travelers will need to provide evidence of a full course of one of the 4 vaccines currently recognized, 2 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca, Pfizer-BioNTech, or Moderna vaccines, or a single dose of the vaccine produced by Johnson & Johnson. Yahoo.b. Travelers who have completed 2 doses of the Sinopharm or Sinovac vaccines will be accepted if they have received an additional dose of one of the 4 vaccines approved in the kingdom. Saudi Arabia has opened a web portal at muqim.sa for visitors to register their vaccination status. The site is available in Arabic and English. Travelers arriving in Saudi Arabia are also required to provide a negative PCR test taken no more than 72 hours before departure and an approved paper vaccination certificate certified by the official health authorities in the issuing country. To accommodate travelers, Saudi has upgraded Tawakkalna, the country's award-winning track and trace app, to allow temporary visitors to register with their passport details. Tawakkalna is required for entry to many public places in Saudi, including shopping malls, cinemas, restaurants, and entertainment venues. The announcement comes almost 18 months after international tourism into Saudi Arabia was suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Saudi Arabia launched the tourism e-visa program in September 2019. Saudi is looking forward to reopening its doors and its hearts to international visitors, said Fahd Hamadan, CEO of the Saudi Tourism Authority. During the shutdown, we have been working in close collaboration with our partners in the public and private sector to ensure that visitors to Saudi can enjoy a memorable, authentic, and, above all, safe experience for themselves and their loved ones. Visitors seeking unexplored heritage sites, an authentic cultural experience, and breathtaking natural beauty will be surprised and delighted to discover Saudi's warm welcome. The announcement of the resumption of tourism comes as Saudi launches its 2021 summer seasonal campaign, bringing a wealth of new attractions and events to the country. The new campaign is expected to tap into significant latent demand among the domestic and regional population, especially for larger-scale entertainment events, which have been significantly affected by measures to control the spread of coronavirus. Jeddah Old City buildings and streets, Saudi Arabia. Despite the pandemic, 2020 was a breakout year for Saudi's domestic tourism industry as citizens and residents explored the country, many for the first time, enabling the continued development of activities and new products ahead of the international reopening. The 2020 Saudi summer campaign, which ran between June and September, generated a 33% increase in spending on hotels, restaurants, and recreation and cultural activities compared to the same period in 2019. Average hotel occupancy was at nearly 50%, with peak occupancy for some destinations at almost 100%. Saudi Arabia also introduced the country's first-ever leisure cruise offering along the Red Sea on the Silver Spirit cruise ship in September 2020. Cruise is being offered once again as part of the summer season, with the MSC Bellissima operating out of Jeddah between July and September. A comprehensive set of health and safety protocols and nationwide testing for COVID-19 ensured that the growth in tourism was not accompanied by a spike in coronavirus cases. Saudi has recorded a little over 14,700 coronavirus cases per million people in the population, below the global average of 25,153 cases per million, and significantly below many of the world's traditional tourism hotspots. Saudi Arabia has successfully rolled out a COVID-19 vaccine to all citizens and residents, with more than 25 million doses administered as of 28 July. More than half of all Saudi citizens and residents have now received their first shot, and 1 in 5 have received 2 doses of the vaccine. All visitors will be asked to observe the precautionary measures approved by the Ministry of Health, which include wearing a mask in public and maintaining social distancing. Citizens from 49 countries are eligible for a tourism visa, which can be secured on the Visit Saudi website. For the most up-to-date information on entry requirements, especially from countries with new variant coronavirus, travelers should check with their carrier before booking. Hawaii visitor spending at US $1.44 billion, but below pre-pandemic. Tourists have been arriving in Hawaii close to pre-pandemic levels, around 26,000 passengers are arriving daily. But the statistics show that they are being more frugal with their spending money. Total visitor spending in Hawaii for tourists arriving in June 2021 was US $1.44 billion. That is still below June 2019, when visitor spending was US $163 billion, a decline of 11.9%. No numbers were available for visitor spending in June 2020. These preliminary statistics were jointly released by the Department of Business, Economic Development and TOURISM, DBEDT, and Hawaii Tourism Authority. Through the first 6 months of 2021, total visitor spending was US $4.86 billion. By comparison, this represented a 45.1% decline from the US $8.86 billion spent through the first half of 2019. A total of 791,053 visitors arrived by air service to the Hawaiian Islands in June 2021, mainly from the US West and US East. Prior to the global COVID-19 pandemic and Hawaii's quarantine requirement for travelers, the Hawaiian Islands experienced record-level visitor expenditures and arrivals in 2019 and in the first 2 months of 2020. When compared to 2019, visitor arrivals in June 2021 were down 16.5% from the June 2019 count of 947,112 visitors, air and cruise. In comparison, only 17,068 visitors arrived by air in June 2020. A total of 2,751,849 visitors arrived in the first half of 2021, up 27.6% compared to the first half of 2020. Total arrivals were 46.8% lower than the 5,171,182 visitors in the first half of 2019. During June 2021, most passengers arriving from out of state and traveling inter-county could bypass the state's mandatory 10-day self-quarantine with a valid negative COVID-19 test result from a trusted testing partner prior to their departure to Hawaii through the Safe Travels program. In addition, individuals who were fully vaccinated in Hawaii could bypass the quarantine order beginning June 15, 2021. Inter-county travel restrictions were lifted also as of June 15, 2021. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and CDC enforced restrictions on cruise ships through a conditional sail order. The average daily census showed that there were 255,936 visitors in Hawaii on any given day in June 2021, compared to 15,223 visitors per day in June 2020 versus 277,930 visitors per day in June 2019. In June 2021, 521,796 visitors arrived from the U.S. West, well above the 10,149 visitors, plus 5,041.2% in June 2020 and exceeding the June 2019 count of 452,958 visitors, plus 15.2%. U.S. West visitors spent US $916.4 million in June 2021, which surpassed the US $691.2 million, plus 32.6%, spent in June 2019. Higher average daily visitor spending, US $188 per person, plus 9.9%, and a longer average length of stay, 9.34 days, plus 4.7%, also contributed to the growth in US West visitor expenditures compared to 2019. There were 247,382 visitors from the U.S. East in June 2021, compared to 5,596 visitors, plus 4,320.8% in June 2020, and 240,223 visitors, plus 3.0% in June 2019. U.S. East visitors spent US $513.3 million in June 2021 compared to US $491.1 million, plus 4.5% in June 2019. A longer length of stay, 10.28 days, plus 5.6%, also contributed to the increase in U.S. East visitor expenditures. Daily spending, US $202 per person, was lower compared to June 2019, US $210 per person. There were 1,859 visitors from Japan in June 2021, compared to 40 visitors, plus 4,567.3% in June 2020 versus 126,592 visitors, minus 98.5% in June 2019. Visitors from Japan spent US $7.4 million in June 2021 compared to US $182.0 million, minus 96.0% in June 2019. Only 627 visitors arrived from Canada in June 2021, compared to 57 visitors, plus 1,000.2%, in June 2020, versus 19,172 visitors, minus 96.7%, in June 2019. There were 19,390 visitors from all other international markets in June 2021. Many of these visitors were from Guam, and a small number of visitors were from other Asia, Europe, Latin America, Oceania, Philippines and Pacific Islands. In comparison, there were 1,226 visitors, plus 1.48%, from all other international markets in June 2020, versus 107,428 visitors, minus 82.0%, in June 2019. In June 2021, a total of 4,804 Trans-Pacific FLIGHTS, plus 898.8% versus June 2020, minus 11.0% versus June 2019, and 994,026 SEATS, plus 799.0% versus June 2020, minus 15.9% versus June 2019, service the Hawaiian Islands. That included the US WEST, 835,781 seats, USEAST, 131,564 seats, and GUAM, 9,800 seats, and limited service from JAPAN, 7,686 seats, KOREA, 2,224 seats, and MANILA, 927 seats. In June 2020, there were 481 flights and 110,570 seats, with service from US WEST, 91,334 seats, USEAST, only from Dallas, 6,318 seats, GUAM, 10,920 seats, and MANILA, 1,545 seats. In June 2019, there were 5,399 flights and 1,182,276 seats, with service from US WEST, 784,087 seats, USEAST, 114,333 seats, JAPAN, 155,388 seats, OCEANIA, 40,407 seats, other ASIA, 37,900 seats, CANADA, 16,890 seats, and other MARKTS, 27,398 seats. Other highlights: US West, in June 2021, 412,153 visitors arrived from the Pacific region, and 109,636 visitors came from the Mountain region. California and Oregon had no quarantine requirements for travelers. In Washington, returning residents were advised to follow travel recommendations from the CDC. In terms of accommodations, 51.8% of US West visitors in June 2021 stayed in hotels, 20.4% stayed in condominiums, 11.6% stayed in rental homes, 11.0% stayed with friends and relatives, and 10.8% stayed in timeshares. Through the first half of 2021, there were 1,865,897 visitors from the US West compared to 927,890 visitors, plus 101.1%, in the first half of 2020, versus 2,258,313 visitors, minus 17.4%, in the first half of 2019. For the first half of 2021, total visitor spending was US $3.19 billion, down 7.2% from US $3.44 billion in the first half of 2019. Daily visitor spending in the first half of 2021 was US $179 per person, up slightly from US $176 per person, plus 1.8%, in the first half of 2019. Food and beverage, transportation and shopping expenses increased, while lodging and entertainment and recreation expenses were lower compared to the first half of 2019. US East, of the 247,382 US East visitors in June 2021, the majority were from the West-South CENTRAL, 65,089 visitors, South ATLANTIC, 61,212 visitors, and East-North CENTRAL, 42,196 visitors, regions. In New York, travelers were not required to submit traveler health forms, but were advised to follow CDC travel recommendations. In terms of lodging, 58.3% of U.S. East visitors in June 2021 stayed in hotels, 16.5% stayed in condominiums, 12.9% stayed with friends and relatives, 11.8% stayed in rental homes, and 8.5% stayed in timeshares. Through the first half of 2021, there were 807,922 visitors from the U.S. East compared to 523,780 visitors, plus 54.2%, in the first half of 2020 versus 1,186,360 visitors, minus 31.9%, in the first half of 2019. For the first half of 2021, total visitor spending was US $1.63 billion, a decrease of 32.3% from US $2.41 billion in the first half of 2019. Daily visitor spending in the first half of 2021 was US $191 per person, compared to US $208 per person, minus 8.4%, in the first half of 2019. Lodging, food and beverage, and entertainment and recreation expenses decreased, while transportation and shopping expenses were higher compared to the first half of 2019. Japan, of the 1,859 visitors in June 2021, 1,644 arrived on international flights from Japan and 215 came on domestic flights. The Japan government required proof of a negative PCR test for all entry into Japan. In addition, all travelers, including returning Japanese nationals, were required to quarantine for 14 days. Nearly 95.4%, visitors from Japan in June 2021 made their own travel arrangements. In terms of lodging, 46.5% stayed in hotels, 28.4% stayed with friends and relatives, 20.8% stayed in condominiums, 6.8% stayed in timeshares, and 3.3% stayed in rental homes. Through the first half of 2021, there were 7,448 visitors from Japan compared to 294,295 visitors, minus 97.5%, in the first half of 2020 versus 734,235 visitors, minus 99.0%, in the first half of 2019. For the first half of 2021, total visitor spending was US $27.7 million, a drop of 97.3% from US $1.03 billion in the first half of 2019. Canada, all 627 visitors in June 2021 arrived on domestic flights. Direct flights from Canada were suspended. Travelers to Canada, including returning Canadian nationals, were required to take a COVID-19 molecular test upon arrival and another test toward the end of their mandatory 14-day quarantine. Prior to departure to Canada, most travelers were required to reserve a 3-night stay in a government-authorized hotel. In addition, they were required to submit their travel and contact information, including a suitable quarantine plan, electronically via Evacuation, before boarding their flight. Most of the visitors in June 2021 were independent travel. Europe's first fully autonomous robotaxi service launched in the Netherlands. The robotaxi is an autonomous electric ferry that is solar-powered and can be hailed with a ride-sharing app. U.S. Buffalo Automation has quietly launched Europe's first commercial robotaxi service. The robotaxi service is the first of its kind on many fronts. The launch opens the door for cities across the EU to adopt this groundbreaking alternative form of transportation. Buffalo Automation, the secretive American artificial intelligence company, and Future Mobility Network, the European alternative transportation operator, have launched Europe's first fully autonomous robotaxi service in the Netherlands. The launch opens the door for cities across the EU to adopt this groundbreaking alternative form of transportation. The robotaxi service is the first of its kind on many fronts. It is an autonomous electric ferry that is solar-powered and can be hailed with a ride-sharing app, but most notably, it is commercially deployed currently carrying passengers in dense European traffic. The launch has made the alternative possibility of using shared-access autonomous electric vehicles as an affordable and environmentally friendly means of transport a reality. The ferry service dubbed Varmet Ferry is subsidized by the Dutch provincial government and will be cost-free for residents until October 2021. Warmond Kajerszoom, Leerderdorp and the nearby golf course now have a better connection, especially for bicyclists and pedestrians, to the Cadenhoorn recreation area. From its inception, Buffalo Automation's goals have been to improve safety and decarbonize the water through the use of our technology, explains CEO Thiru Vikram. This project was made possible because of like-minded local community and business leaders who are open to exploring alternative transport models. This historic launch will solidify our commitment to providing the people of South Holland a safe, clean energy means of transportation that protects their numerous blueways and natural resources. Launching this electric robotaxi service, which is powered by our Greycraft technology, on a European river has been an exciting undertaking for our operating field teams. We're happy that Dutch officials as well as the folks at FMN and NGS share our vision and look forward to more planned launches across the pond. Municipality of Tellingen, South Holland's Alderman Helene Huij, a champion of green technology, is enthusiastic about the benefits of this ferry. It is special that the municipality of Tellingen has the Scoop, a self-propelled ferry. She says, "Nice that we can use this innovative ferry service, planned and implemented by one of our residents this summer. And fantastic that students from Delft on de Grootsloot may find a learning ground for their projects. I am very proud that this ferry is going to transfer pedestrians and cyclists as a pilot project. If it turns out that the ferry is a success, it can contribute to sustainable access between the recreational areas of Kajerszoom and Cadenhoorn." Shared access to the self-driving electric ferry is a core concept in Buffalo Automation's commitment to ensure that boating is not always geared toward the top-tier elite. It brings the yachting lifestyle to the masses, democratizing transportation regardless of a person's level of navigation expertise or financial ability to own a vehicle, while safeguarding the environment. Anne Koning, provincial executive of South Holland. Because of the measures to contain the coronavirus, we are increasingly going out in our own country. As a result, the recreational pressure in our green areas has increased considerably. With a financial grant from the province of South Holland, we are realizing an extra connection to the island of Cadenhoorn. This is how we hope for a better spread of visitors, and we will ensure that recreants can also be safe this summer. Enjoy this beautiful area. Uganda regulating wildlife trade electronically, preserving tourism. The Uganda Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities has today, July 29, 2021, launched the first electronic permitting system to regulate trade in wildlife as well as wildlife products in the country. Under the THEME Strengthening Sustainable Wildlife Trade Regulation, the electronic permitting system aims to control legal trade in wildlife and prevent illegal specimen trade. This is accomplished through electronic permits and licenses for trade, import, export, and re-export in specimens. These specimens are listed in the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and FLORA sites. Uganda now becomes the first country in East Africa and the 8th on the African continent to develop an electronic sites permit system. The development of the electronic permitting system has been funded by the American people under the United States Agency for International Development and USAID, Uganda Combating Wildlife CRIME, CWC, program through the Wildlife Conservation Society WCS, in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. The launch was moderated by Dr. Bararega Akinkwasa, Ph.D., Commissioner of Wildlife Conservation and Acting Director of the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and MTWA, in a hybrid online and physical format. In attendance were the Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Honorable Tom Bodrum, who presided over the launch, his permanent secretary, Doreen Katusium, United States Ambassador to Uganda, Ambassador Natalie E. Brown, and head of the European delegation in Uganda, Ambassador Attilio Pacifici. Haruko Takusu, head of the project, was able to represent the site secretariat virtually. Speaking at the event, Ambassador Brown highlighted the projects that are being supported by USAID to combat illegal wildlife trade, including the Canine Unit and Karuma Wildlife Reserve, where dogs are being trained and equipped to intercept wildlife products in the region. Ambassador Pacifici decried the destruction of forest including Bugoma to commercial sugar growing by Hoima Sugar Limited and Zoka Forest to loggers that the EU delegation had visited in November 2020 and documented the destruction through satellite images. Bugoma Forest is a habitat to the endemic Uganda mangabe, and the Zoka Forest is an endemic habitat to the flying squirrel. Both forests have been at the center of a sustained campaigns against cartels of land grabbers and corrupt elements in high offices. Haruko Takusu, Site Secretariat, noted that permits are one of the principal tools for monitoring trade in CITES-listed species and critical to understanding the scale of CITES trade. The Uganda system seeks to secure each step of the chain of custody. Dr. Bararega gave a background on CITES and Uganda's subsequent signing, including an interpretation of Appendices I, II and III to the convention listing species afforded different levels or types of protection from overexploitation. He said, as the CITES Management Authority, Uganda's Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities is mandated to ensure that trade in CITES listed and other wildlife species is sustainable and legal. This is done among other means through the issuance of CITES permits on recommendation of the Uganda Wildlife Authority for wild animals, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries for ornamental fish, and the Ministry of Water and Environment for plants of wild origin. It is the CITES Scientific Authority's responsibility to ensure that trade, in particular animal or plant species, is not detrimental to their survival of the species in the wild. Until now, Uganda, like many other countries, has been using a paper-based system of certification and permit issuance, which can be prone to forgeries, takes more time to process and verify, and in the advent of COVID-19, movement of documents may be a risk for disease transmission. With the electronic system, various CITES focal points and law enforcement agencies can instantly verify a permit and share real-time information on wildlife trade. This will prevent illegal wildlife trade that threatens populations of some of the most iconic wildlife species like elephants, thereby undermining Uganda's tourism revenue and national security. Joward Baluku, wildlife officer at the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, demonstrated the system online, showing how one simply has to log in their credentials through a link on the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities website, which takes the applicant through a registration process before they are validated and certified. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, Uganda Combating Wildlife CRIME, CWC, is a 5-year ACTIVITY, May 13, 2020 May 12, 2025, implemented by the Wildlife Conservation Society WCS, together with a consortium of partners including the African Wildlife FOUNDATIO and OFF, Natural Resource Conservation NETWORK, and RCN, and the Royal United Services INSTITUT, RUSI. The goal of the activity is to reduce wildlife crime in Uganda by strengthening the capacity of CWC stakeholders to detect, deter, and prosecute wildlife crime through close collaborations with security and law enforcement agencies, USAID implementing partners, private sector companies, and communities living adjacent to protected areas. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and FLORA, CITES, was signed on March 3, 1973, and entered into force on July 1, 1975. The convention subjects international trade in specimens of selected species to authorization through a licensing system. Uganda, a party to the convention since October 16, 1991, has designated the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities as the CITES Management Authority to administer the licensing system and coordinate CITES implementation in Uganda. Uganda has also designated the Uganda Wildlife Authority, Ministry of Water and Environment, and Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to be CITES scientific authorities for wild animals, wild plants, and ornamental fish respectively, to offer scientific advice on the effects of trade on the conservation of species in the wild. Thai train cars for COVID-19 patients with no AC or toilets. No air conditioning and no toilets, yet. That's what asymptomatic COVID-19 patients are facing when they are admitted to their isolation wards, converted train cars. Thailand COVID-19 patients in Bangkok who are awaiting referral to a treatment facility will be isolated in converted train cars. This isolation center is being set up at Bang Sue Grand Station's electric train depot. Work continues to install mosquito netting and external toilets as well as connect the carriages to electricity and water. The Bangkok Metropolitan ADMINISTRATION BMA and the State Railway of Thailand SRT are now working to open an isolation center for COVID-19 patients at Bang Sue Grand Station's electric train depot. Thailand Governor Paul Gen. Aswan Kwanmuang said the facility will serve as a pre-admission center for asymptomatic COVID-19 patients in Bangkok awaiting referral to a treatment facility. There are 15 non-air-conditioned sleeper carriages now being converted into isolation wards. Each carriage can accommodate up to 16 patients, with only the lower bunk being used. Works are being done to install mosquito screens at the windows, connect the carriages to the power grid and water system, as well as installing external toilets. He said this project was initiated by the Minister of Transport Saksayam Chidjob, who has directed the State Railway of Thailand and the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration to set up a new patient isolation facility together. This isolation facility is expected to receive its first patients tomorrow on Friday, July 30, 2021. The Bangkok Metropolitan Administration will be sending a waiver request for utility costs associated with the operations of this facility to the Ministry of Interior. The governor of Bangkok revealed that around 60% of Bangkok residents have already received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine, and the city is likely to achieve the 70% target soon, in a hope to achieve herd immunity. He said all the 25 BMA-run vaccination centers are prepared to continue offering the jabs. Vaccines are supplied from the Ministry of Public Health. In Thailand, from January 3, 2020, to 6:17 p.m. July 29, 2021, there have been 561,030 confirmed cases of COVID-19 with 4,562 deaths, as reported by the World Health Organization WHO. As of July 25, 2021, a total of 15,960,778 vaccine doses have been administered in the country. Number rebuild interval. Tourism barely scratched the surface of its potential. Even with the great success that Jamaica's tourism was experiencing before the COVID-19 pandemic, the Jamaica Tourism Minister Hon. Edmund Bartlett believes they have merely scratched the surface of this industry's vast potential. There lies an opportunity in this COVID-19 coronavirus crisis. Despite the devastating impact of the pandemic on global tourism economies, as plans are put together and set in place to rebuild, now is the perfect time to reimagine the industry. This is an opportunity to create a tourism product that is safe, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. Minister Bartlett spoke at the meeting of the Caribbean Alternative Investment and Carrier, held at the AC Hotel by Marriott in New Kingston, Jamaica, today, July 29, 2021. Read or listen to what he had to say. Introduction. Tourism is one of the world's largest and fastest-growing industries, driving socio-economic development, growth in investments, job creation, and infrastructural development. The pre-pandemic numbers tell the story. In 2019, a thriving global travel and tourism industry accounted for 10.4% of global GDP and supported the livelihoods of 334 million people, 10.6% of all jobs. Meanwhile, international visitor spending amounted to US $1.7 trillion. Regionally, Caribbean destinations received an estimated 32.0 million international tourist arrivals, which contributed nearly US $59 billion to the nation's GDP, US $35.7 billion in visitors spending, and supported 2.8 million jobs, 15.2% of total employment. While locally, 2019 was a record-breaking year for tourism arrivals and earnings. We welcomed 4.2 million visitors. The sector earned US $3.7 billion, contributed 9.8% to the nation's GDP, accounted for 17.0% of foreign direct FDI, and generated some 170,000 direct jobs, while indirectly affecting another 100,000. Pre-crisis, tourism also drove 15% of construction, 10% of banking and finance, 20% of manufacturing and 21% of utilities as well as agriculture and fisheries. Overall, the tourism sector grew by 36% over the past 30 years against total economic growth of 10%. When you add that Jamaica is situated in the Caribbean, the world's most tourism-reliant region, then you can understand the importance of tourism to Jamaica's wider post-pandemic economic recovery. Investment in tourism offers one of the best opportunities for Jamaica to recover and strengthen its economy. Therefore, I am pleased to have been invited to speak to representatives of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association and CARIA today so we can explore tourism investment opportunities that will spur the growth of an industry that contributes immeasurably to the social and economic well-being of our people. COVID's impact. Since March 2020, Jamaica, like the rest of the world, has been navigating an ever-fluid new normal in response to the unprecedented economic and social disruptions caused by the global pandemic. The UNWTO has described the current pandemic as the worst crisis that international tourism has faced since records began in 1950. A recent IMF report found that in the first half of 2020, international tourist arrivals fell globally by more than 65%, compared with 8% during the global financial crisis and 17% amid the SARS epidemic of 2003. The economic impact includes the loss of between 120 million jobs and BTWEE and $910 million to $1.1 trillion in export revenues. The economic impact of the pandemic on international travel and tourism was disproportionately felt among tourism-dependent countries. Caribbean tourism-dependent nations lost an estimated 12% of their GDP in 2020, when compared to 4.4% global economic contraction over the same period, IMF's World Economic Outlook, October 2020. The WTTC estimated that 6 million jobs in the travel and tourism industry and more than US $110 billion in contribution to GDP were lost in Latin America and the Caribbean alone in 2020. From a national perspective, the Jamaican economy has been hemorrhaging from the sharp decline in tourist arrivals experienced over the past 16 months. For the last fiscal year, the Jamaican government lost direct revenue from the tourism sector of $46.3 billion through airport charges and taxes, guest accommodation room tax, GART, general consumption tax, tourism enhancement fund, TEF, collections, cruise taxes, and other government taxes. With the reopening of the borders on June 15, 2020, the total number of stopover arrivals up to March 2021 was approximately 464,348, as there were no cruise visitors during this period. With the anticipated number of arrivals of 2.9 million stopover visitors for the April 2020 to March 2021 period, the estimated retained visitor expenditure was $199.4 billion. However, with almost 500,000 visitors for the same period, the expenditure was only $44.7 billion and as such, the loss in visitor expenditure was $154.7 billion. Arrivals at the end of 2020 were 1.3 million. Of this, 880,404 were from stopover arrivals and 449,271 from cruise. This represents a 68.6% decrease from the 4.3 million visitors to the island over the same period in 2019. Jamaica also recorded US $1.3 billion in earnings, which was a 62.6% decline in comparison to 2019. For the March 2020 to March 2021 period, the estimated retained visitor expenditure was $217.9 billion. As there were only 600,000 visitors for the same period, the expenditure was only $52.2 billion, and as such the loss in visitor expenditure was $154.7 billion. In addition, in the peak of the pandemic, most hotels in Jamaica were operating at an occupancy level of between 15 to 30%, while the tourism labor force was reduced to 30% of its regular COMPLEMENT 174,000 direct employees, with those who remained employed being forced to work under conditions have drastically reduced hours and salaries. The road to recovery. Destination resilience has been the centerpiece of our tourism recovery plan. The phased reopening of our borders in June 2020, which signaled the restart of local tourism, took place under strict health and safety protocols that prioritized the safety and security of frontline tourism workers, our citizens and our visitors. These measures had three main components: developing the required infrastructure, providing support to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and educating all stakeholders about the COVID-19 virus and the protocols we developed to stem its spread. Specially assigned staff from the Tourism Product Development (COMPANY) who are a part of the Stakeholder Risk Management Unit, along with members of the COVID-19 Resilient Corridor Management Team, have been closely monitoring the implementation of these measures to ensure strict compliance. As a result, tourism entities have maintained a near 100% compliance rate along the resilient corridors since the reopening of the island's borders to international travel. Our World Travel and Tourism Council (WTTC) endorsed protocols complement our highly successful resilient corridors to the north and south of the island, designed to keep workers, communities, and visitors safe by only opening an area that we have the capacity to effectively monitor and manage. I am pleased to say that the measures are working. To date, there have been very few cases of transmission of COVID-19 along the resilient corridors, has 0.6% positivity rate, which is proof that our highly regarded health and safety protocols are working, and testament to the high level of compliance by tourism stakeholders. Reimagining tourism. Despite the pandemic-induced setbacks, tourism's future is looking bright. I have every confidence that the industry will bounce back from this crisis as it has done many times before. Tourism is known for its resilience. It is going to be a slow and arduous process, but we are already seeing very positive signs, and I am confident that by 2023 we will once again be seeing significant gains. The investment climate remains positive with 90% of the planned investments on target. In the year since the reopening of our borders, June 2020 to June 2021, we have welcomed over 837,000 stopover visitors, with arrivals increasing an average of 20% each month since reopening, and thankfully many of our 170,000 directly employed tourism workers are now back on the job. The projections are also looking encouraging. 189,001 stopover visitors are projected for July 2021. Cruise arrivals are projected to resume in August 2021 for January to December 2021. It is projected that Jamaica will receive 1.7 million visitors for January to December 2021. The estimated foreign exchange earnings is US $2.0 billion. Looking further afield to 2022, Jamaica is projected to welcome 3.2 million visitors while earning US $2.7 billion in revenue. By 2023 we will be well on our way to recovery with projections of 3.7 million visitors and earning US $3.5 billion in revenue. And by 2024 we will be back on track for 4.2 million visitors and US $4.0 billion in tourism revenue. While the pandemic has thrown visitor arrivals and growth targets off track, it has forced us to rethink our strategies and chart a new course towards effective recovery and sustainable development. The strategic framework for reimagining Jamaica's tourism is being guided by the Ministry of Tourism's Blue Ocean Strategy, which will allow us to meet our growth targets of 5 million visitors, $5 billion in earnings and 5,000 new rooms by 2025. It requires a shift in mindset as we seek to uncover hidden opportunities in the tourism industry amid the COVID-19 era economic crisis. The ministry's Blue Ocean strategy calls for the creation of business models that depart from traditional models based on head-to-head competition and gaining market share. Instead, it will see our ministry pursuing enhanced value creation through product differentiation and diversification. How will we go about it? We will be training and building the capacity of our people, renewing our focus on destination assurance, leveraging our culture and heritage to tell the authentic Jamaican story, making music a more predominant and inclusive part of the visitor experience, and creating programs to get visitors out of the hotels to experience authentic Jamaica. Also, we will be undertaking major transformational projects in the sector, e.g., Montego Bay's hip strip, connecting Montego Bay by water, and the development of St. Thomas as our next tourist destination. These are just a few examples of how we plan to pivot for tourism dominance while boosting economic growth, improving livelihoods and creating jobs. We are still in the embryonic stages of building out the ministry's Blue Ocean strategy, but we believe it will force us to push the boundaries of our tourism industry so we can offer our visitors unique experiences of immense value. At the same time, these developments provide tremendous investment opportunities. Tourism as an investment opportunity. Investment will play a critical role in building out this new-look tourism product. It provides the funds necessary to construct and upgrade tourism projects essential to the development and growth of tourism capacity. In addition, the success of any tourist destination is dependent to a large degree on the nature of the facilities and services infrastructure available to visitors. The multidimensional nature of Jamaica's tourism sector offers a myriad of opportunities, including accommodation, attractions, travel technology, agro-tourism, green projects, nutraceuticals, manufacturing and supporting infrastructure that improves the visitor experience. CARIA can be a strong voice as we seek to promote, attract and facilitate productive investment in Jamaica's tourism industry, and in doing so, place us more effectively on the world's alternative investment stage. I am pleased that investors continue to show confidence in the Jamaican tourism market. Investments that were completed on the island during 2020, in a year when tourism revenues dipped dramatically, included Chukka Ocean Outpost in Sandy Bay, Hanover at a cost of $3 million. The refurbishing of Dover Water Bungalows